Welcome or welcome back to our home libraries, and happy July 4th if you're American. I know we have a couple of international listeners, so if you're American or if you're military stationed overseas, then yay, American independence. Anyway, in honor of that,
Yeah, happy July 4th.
we are discussing Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. We're going to ruin this for you, so if this is something you're interested in reading and you don't want it to be spoiled, make sure you stop listening before we get into the questions, and of course, come back, give us a listen once you have read, and you, of course, head over to our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube channel, check out some extra content, and all of those are our home libraries, plural, because we're two people.
So for Red, White, and Royal Blue, this follows the fictitious first son of the first female president of the United States. Alex Claremont Diaz is the closest thing to royalty on this side of the Atlantic. He, along with his sister June and the vice president's genius granddaughter Nora, are collectively known as the White House Trio. And yes, of course, in typical political endeavors, this term was tested before it was coined for them, but they have a good laugh out of that. And it's part of this marketing strategy to appeal to younger generations. However, this strategy goes a little bit sideways when a photo of a confrontation of Alex's long-standing and seemingly one-sided nemesis, Prince Harry, at a royal wedding gets plastered all over the tabloids and threaten British and American relations. It's, of course, Alex and the prince crashing into the wedding cake.
And apparently a $75,000 wedding cake. That's a lot of money for a cake.
That was the price of Carrie's wedding cake.
I'm not even having a cake, okay?
So this image needs to be fixed. So the plan of action is to mend fences by having a fake relationship, fake friendship between the first son and the prince. However, this fake friendship turns into real friendship, and then that friendship turns into more. The re-election campaign of President Alan Claremont and the stuffy ideals of the royal family require all of this to be secret.
Which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Nobody wants, I don't know. It's extra because they are public figures.
And still trying to have also some privacy as they navigate figuring out what their relationship is.
I mean, we know it's possible because Taylor Swift does it, but
there you go.
Anyway, we can get into our ratings and our review of this. I actually rated this 4 out of 5 wedding cakes. And, every time we talk about romance, we have to talk about the smut. And Kayla gave me a little bit of a warning before I started this because we all know I'm a little bit sensitive to language, okay? But this really wasn't that bad. It was this happy medium between fade to black and explicit. There was enough detail that I knew what was happening, but not so much detail that I felt like I was reading porn. So I'm not mad at this. That's why I gave it 4 out of 5 largely. I also liked the plot.
Yeah, I gave it a similar rating. I said 4 out of 5 Prince Charmings. I really liked all the characters. Sometimes I thought Alex could be a little annoying.
Yeah, a little.
But most of the time I liked him and I thought he was pretty charming. And I thought our leading couple was just so adorable. And I really liked the writing because it felt like every time there was friction in the relationship or of them even getting to the point of being in a relationship and then the issues that ensued afterwards, you always kind of understood the why they were doing things. I always hate romance books where you're like, why is this person doing this? This book, it always felt like we really understood their hang-ups or their reservations or what was happening.
I totally agree.
And yeah, I will say, just FYI, if you don't like reading anything political, this is a very, very, very liberal sided view of politics. If that's not something you'd want to read, maybe this wouldn't be the book for you. But overall, I think it's a really fun romance book to read. And it's kind of one of my favorite Hallmark Channel romance tropes where it's someone accidentally falls in love with a royal person. So this fictitious royal family, even though it was in Britain and it's been the same royal family forever, it was really fun. I enjoyed it.
Casey, is Casey a he or a she? I'm not sure.
Yeesh, I'm not sure either.
Let's Google that real quick. Non-binary, yeah. So they, them pronouns. I feel like they did a good job of changing the names of the royal family so that it wouldn't like directly correlate to the people who are actually the royal family. I feel like that was not only clever because we don't get confused, but clever because then they can't be sued
Right.
for writing this stuff about the royal family. So yeah, it was good. I liked it. We need a female president. I agree with that. Definitely.
I also liked how they wrote the female president, because I thought we had a nice view of her as an elected official, but then also how she sometimes had to take the hat off and be mom for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a fun way to see a president or someone in our government portrayed, because I think sometimes we forget when people have very important jobs that they also have
Family.
another very important job of being part of a family. So I enjoyed that aspect.
For sure. So the questions we're discussing in this episode come from one of our tried and true websites, Lit Lovers. We have, of course, linked that in the description. So if you want to see the whole list of questions that they came up with, that's there. We omitted a few because it was a bit redundant. And then Kayla came up with one for fun. So to get started, at the beginning of the novel, Alex and Henry are enemies, or at least Henry is Alex's enemy. We don't know how Henry feels about Alex. But they become friends and eventually engage in a romantic relationship. Why do you think their relationship works so well, and how do they balance one another out?
The one part that I think was really important is that there is a carefree part to Alex, even though he has these aspirations to get into the political arena really young and like skyrocket through that whole adventure. He does have this carefree part to him. And I think it's really necessary for Henry, who we see is very buttoned up and reserved, and his private life is very calculated with what is portrayed. Whereas Alex comes from a very liberal family. His mom in this book is viewed as Democrat, and he has said several times that it wouldn't matter to his mom sexual orientation of any of her kids. So I think having that in the back of Alex's mind, that it wouldn't matter to his parents any which way, even when he kind of makes this revelation that, oh, I'm bisexual, he knew he would have his family support and even like the support of the political party that he identifies with. So having that as like a backbone to what Alex knew he would have let him enter into this relationship with Henry. And I think that Henry needed someone like that for a relationship.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because even at the point where, you know, maybe Alex and Henry are engaging something, we see like Henry kiss Alex. Alex is not suspecting it, and like literally he goes home the next day and goes on a date with a woman and is like seen out in public. And like Henry is very much concerned with public image, largely because that is what his family is concerned with. So I agree with that bit where Alex is more carefree and doesn't really care about that stuff, but yet has to care about it because Henry cares about it.
And also too, like, he knows that he's in the public eye as well, so they take like measured steps when they see each other to make sure that they have covers for it and things like that, which gave them the opportunity to see where their relationship would go instead of all of a sudden being out in the spotlight. And then I think the flip side is that Alex, it's quoted that he like always has a fire under his butt for no gosh darn good reason why. So he's always moving at lightning speed, whereas Henry essentially like forces Alex into like this email correspondence. And I think that it helps like slow Alex down a little bit to like write out his feelings and to read it and to have reassurance. So I think that they both have something that the other needs, which is what we obviously always
that's what
in a romance couple.
We want that in a romantic relationship, and we want to read like two people who are actually good influences on one another and help, like one is strong where the other is weak and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was the biggest turning point in their relationship, and why?
It has to be New Year's Eve when Alex.
I disagree.
What do you think it was?
I actually think it was the summer trip that they took to Alex's dad's lake house.
Okay.
Why
I
do you
agree
think
with
it
that,
was
but
New Year's? Start with that.
because there needed to be a catalyst to shift it into a romantic relationship.
Sure.
I think that that's what started it all and changed it all. I understand them being out at the lake house being a shift, but I don't view that as like a turning point. I view that as like a roadblock in their relationship.
So I agree there had to be some kind of catalyst, but I also think that Alex was already kind of thinking about Henry in that way and just didn't want to voice it.
Yeah, but would Alex have done anything? I don't think he would have.
I don't know, but see, like the summer trip though, I was reading it, and Kayla read this like a long time ago, and I'm just now getting around to it because I'm busy. But I texted Kayla after the summer house thing because I was just so disappointed. Alex was like ready to say the L word, and Henry was just like, "Oh, just kidding, gotta go. I'm tired," and like went to sleep and disappeared the next morning, just up and left. And I was so upset. It felt like a complete 180. But when I think about a turning point, I think about something that sets all the future events into motion. And I think that without the lake house, we would not have had Henry coming out to his family or like standing up for his own happiness or coming out as a public couple. If that had not happened, none of the rest of the book would have happened. It would have just continued like it was.
No, I don't think Henry would have come out to his parent or his grandmother, the queen, unless he was forced, which happened when their emails were made public. So I don't think the lake house made that happen. I think Henry was ready to not go any further in that relationship. That's why he ran away.
Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree.
So, for communication's sake, we're going to put a pin in that question since we don't quite agree. But for communication between our two main characters, Alex and Henry, we see it escalating from text to phone calls and eventually these very intense emails that we've talked about, where they quote love letters from historical figures to one another. How does their correspondence add to the story?
So this doesn't answer the question, but I have to say, how do they know enough about historical figures' letters to directly quote them? Because, like, I know nothing of these things. And, like, especially with Henry, like, quoting American historical figures, and I'm like, why would he be studying that? He's British.
I'm not surprised, actually. It doesn't bug me at all. I feel like the way that they portrayed both of these characters is that, A, Henry's very much into literature, and then I think that him then quoting American political figures was probably Henry being extra and like doing research when he started dating someone in the political sphere of the United States of America, because that is like who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not totally shocked. And also, it's Google. Like, Google someone.
Yeah, but I kind of think, like, even if I did have knowledge of, like, romantic letters that have been passed back and forth between historical figures, I would not be able to directly quote something that is so relevant to my own life. Like, they just pulled it out of their heads, like it was there, and it applied.
I think that they took the time to find the stuff that applied. That's like the beauty of these letters. They weren't always just like quick send them, like they took time to write them to one another. While the book is about a romantic relationship at its core, there are a number of other relationships with friends, parents, and siblings throughout it. How are these relationships important to Alex and Henry, and how do they enhance the story? So for me, I felt like the friendships in this book are very important. We see the people that are most important to both Alex and Henry, the ones that have been there for them unconditionally and love them. So I think that it is helpful to the story because we have people to confide in and to help progress the story, but also to have really fun secondary characters.
Oh, for sure.
Like at one point they go out like drinking at the bar, and one of the Secret Service agents like goes to Alex like, oh, this is the crew now, huh? And it felt nice because I think that for these characters who are in the spotlight, they don't always have a sense of normalcy. And to have like that core group like that is part of like normal 20-something-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big fan of all the supporting characters. And I think that, like I said, it helps move along the storyline because we see like Alex confiding in Nora first about when he thinks he's bi. And then we see him having a conversation with June. And it's all vehicles for us to see how Alex is feeling, and also Henry to some extent.
Yeah, it does. It is kind of sad just because Henry has a lot less support in his life. Like Alex, he's got like 6 people that he could go to and confide in, and Henry really just has one, which is his sister B. But
and Pez.
I mean, yeah, but it also kind of felt like he was everywhere all the time and was never really like a stationary person. Like, sure, he could call if he needed somebody to talk to, but like I just felt like Pez was in his own world and like Henry just happened to be in it. That's how I kind of viewed Pez.
Oh, interesting. That's not how I viewed that friendship at all. Like they were going around together setting up the charities together. So I viewed them very much integrated in each other's lives.
It's interesting, like how much we usually agree on things, and like this book is gonna put a rift in our friendship, Kayla. I'm kidding. Totally kidding. It definitely was just a book. Anyway, I just think it feels like a lot of the other people in Henry's life were very hands off, unless it was about protecting their own reputation. And then it was like he had to sacrifice his own happiness to protect the reputation of the crown. And
yeah, I for sure agree with that statement.
It was like just B who was around all the time and really witnessing what Henry was going through.
But also to that extent too about B is that Henry was always worried about her because she had some issues with cocaine in the past. So I felt like he didn't want to like confide in her because he wanted her to be okay, which we see like that nurturing side of him. So yeah, you're right. He was very much more isolated than Alex was.
Yeah. But there are lots of other supporting characters. There are like tons and tons of secondary characters. So outside of Alex and Henry, who was your favorite character and why?
Mine was June.
Really?
Yeah. Who was yours? And then I'll explain
I think
why.
My favorite one was Zara.
Oh, yeah.
I liked her.
Zara's very
She
fun.
was like, she had a no-nonsense attitude. And then that little twist at the end when we find out that she's been secretly engaged to Henry's equerry the whole time. That was so good.
Yeah. And she like goes to Alex like, yeah, I have a life outside of just you.
Yeah.
Very funny.
It also kind of mirrors like Alex in a way because Zara, when she calls, is his name said Sean or just Sean?
I was saying it's Sean, but it could be pronounced.
Okay, well, Henry's equerry, I'm not sure how to say his name, but she would call him like insult the shit out of him. But at the same time, like they're in a relationship and they're engaged. And I feel like Alex had a tendency to do that as well. Like that's how he expressed his affection to Henry, was by like insulting but flirting at the same time. And that was very much what I got out of Zara too.
So the reason why I picked June is because I thought that her character was actually like the most real one in this book. Some of the other characters sometimes to me felt like big picture stuff. Like Alex wanted to enter the political career right away. Nora is a genius. Mm-hmm. Pez is insanely wealthy. Henry is a prince. June is the one that's struggling to find her new dream now that her mom is president. Yeah. Because what she wants to do as a reporter, she can't do because she has a mother that is the president of the United States that kind of hinders
unbiased things anymore. Yeah.
Right. And then she has this really cute, like, just like so much love for her brother where she gives him the space to talk when he's ready. And like and then gives him like shit, like, why didn't you come to me? Like, I'm here for you. So I felt like she was the most relatable character in this to me.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that statement.
Yeah, that's actually my
Relatable
favorite.
and trying to figure out what you want to do with your life when you
She's trying to come up with a new
We also see some other kind of tropes. We have like the found family trope. How do you think that Alex and Henry's journey might have been different if they didn't have the friends and family that they did?
Yeah, I feel like we did talk about this, and I know that we did, where we said that Henry didn't have as much support as Alex,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I think that it was so important that the person that Henry, started a relationship was Alex, because Alex had all that support, whereas Henry didn't have as much. So that's very important.
I do kind of wonder though, and trying not to get too political, and prefacing this with the fact that I am not part of the LGBTQ plus community. I'm heterosexual, so I'm making assumptions about what people in that community experience, but I feel like it kind of mirrors like the general acceptance of different members of this community. Like Alex is bisexual, and he was pretty immediately accepted by everyone in his core group of friends and family, while Henry is gay, and there were people in his family that didn't seem to want to accept that, to the point of like asking him to publicly pretend that he isn't gay. So I kind of think that our society, and again, trying not to get too political, our society kind of has more of a prejudice toward people who are gay or lesbian, but like less prejudice toward people who are bisexual, especially if that bisexual person is in a heterosexual relationship. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like I said, I'm making assumptions.
Yeah, I'm not sure the right answer on that, or how things play out, because I really do think it's probably part of the community you're in, where you live, who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
I think that would greatly impact people's own personal experience with things. So, but that's why it's great to read.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we can see different perspectives. Casey McQuiston is part of the LGBTQ plus community, so they have a voice that they're using for this.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
That kind of goes back to the importance of inclusivity in media. I mean, there's a large conversation going on about having people of color as main characters that are written by people of color, and having LGBTQ characters that are written by LGBTQ authors in TV and books. Really important that we have a plethora of types of people who are represented, because everybody wants to feel like they can relate to something.
And I think that that's the fun of it, right? Is to get more people involved in the things that you like. Like, that would be more fun to have a wide variety of people interested in all the different hobbies that are out there.
Yeah.
So I'm here for it.
Yeah, same.
So we've talked about it. Alex, June, and Nora go to visit their dad at his lake house for a long weekend in the summer. They invite Henry. This is a special trip that they do yearly, and you can tell that the characters are really at ease there. This is just a for fun question, not even about the book. Do we have any special plans that we do over the summer for all the long weekends that we are lucky enough to have? Or in Carrie's case, all summer, because she gets a decent chunk off being a professor.
Most of the summer, I am teaching a couple of like week-long summer courses, but so I don't have the entire summer.
But you get some good chunks off, which is nice.
When I have a long weekend, I usually go to my dad's house, which just happens to be near Kayla. So I'm usually hanging out with Kayla. As long as you're not like somewhere else, like going to your parents' place for the weekend, I'm usually hanging out with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, the big thing is that for a long weekend, which we usually turn into a week because it's a drive for us, but we go up to New York and we get to either my sister's cottage or my parents' cottage. And those are kind of my happy place. When I was reading about their dad's lake house, it reminded me so much of like how I feel at my parents' cottage or my sister's cottage, where you just like have a deep breath and you're just comfortable
you can
and
just
happy.
exist and not have to worry about lots of other things.
Which is also why I really like this author, because I felt like when we were reading some of these scenarios, it reminded me of stuff that I have felt, like that lake, like I felt that, I knew that feeling. So that's why I enjoyed the writing of this book.
I feel like the first time you read this book, were you not in New York? I feel like you were at your sister's cabin when you read this, because you FaceTimed me and you were like, I need to tell you about this book, and you were a little intoxicated, but it was a fun conversation.
Yeah, so I had it was actually when I got my eyes done.
Oh yeah.
I had listened to a book on tape. It was a different book. And then I listened to this one. I started it because I just had to lay there for 24 hours and I couldn't like see anything. So that's where I started getting into books on tape. But I started it on tape. And then once my eyes were healed, I also got the book like to read, not just listen to. And I ended up finishing it at my sister's cottage. And yes, it was like a Saturday. I'd had a couple drinks. All the kids were tucked away in bed. Life was good. And I finished it. And my sister and my brother-in-law were out. They just went for they were not drunk, but they had gone out for a biking ride. They have like a 6-person ATV. And I was like, it's fine. Like, I'll sit here. I had a couple drinks. I'm just going to chill and finish my book. And then I finished it. And there was no one there to be like, oh my gosh, this was so cute. So I had to call Carrie.
And when she says she got her eyes done, I got LASIK and then convinced her to do it. So she's talking about getting LASIK surgery.
Yes.
Corrective surgery, not like anything like weird. Anyway, so this book ends with Alex's mom winning her second term as president of the U.S. And then Alex and Henry kind of talk about making plans for the future. You love these types of questions. What do you envision happening after this conclusion with all the characters, really?
Yeah. So I don't like these types of questions, but I do.
Okay, there was one book we read that you were like, I love thinking about this, but maybe it was just for like that specific character, and I got it in my head that you like future question stuff.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't say I hate it. I'm middle of the road because sometimes I don't care enough to think about it. In which case, if someone asked me that, I'd be like, no. But you're right. I feel like there was a book where I was excited about it. So I must have really liked the characters. And in this case, I like both of these characters. So I really hope that they stay together. I don't realistically get how Alex could become like some high profile lawyer and enter the political world if he is with the Prince of England. I don't quite get how that would work out. But I like the dream. I hope that they figure out some way to make it work.
Yeah, I actually looked up whether a member of the royal family can just marry anybody they want. And the answer is no. The queen has to approve it. And it did not seem like the fictional queen in this book was very approving. So, I mean, we kind of end the book with Alex making this internal thought about Henry's mother maybe going after the crown soon and trying to get the queen declared like mentally unfit or however that works. But I do kind of think it's a bit of wishful thinking that Alex and Henry are going to be happy forever and ever and ever, because, you know, like you said, if he wants to be a high profile political lawyer, like, it's probably not conducive to his career to be in a relationship with the Prince of England.
Right, and that's where it brings us back to my favorite character, June, where she's trying to come up with a new plan for herself because of what her mother's job is. And it's like the same thing here, whereas Henry's isn't even a job. That is part of who he is. I guess you could denounce your royal title maybe, and that would be a way for them to...
He could abdicate.
End up together. So we'll see. I hope for them. Maybe, because they are very cute together.
It is a cute couple, book. Yeah. I was sad that Henry left. I was like,
yeah,
I'm rooting for them.
Because it was such a nice weekend, and then all of a sudden he like left, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
For sure.
All right. Any other remarks to finish this one up?
I don't think so. It was cute.
Okay.
Quick read. I think it's great for summer if you're like taking a beach weekend or something and you're interested in picking up a cute little romance that's Slightly
a little
smutty, but not
spicy,
too.
but not too bad.
Yeah, this is a good
Yeah.
one.
And to keep because we are in the middle of summer, to keep the theme going, our next episode we're going to be discussing Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune, which I read her, I think it was her first book last summer that was really good, set like at a lake, very good like summer vibes, which I think this one will also feel the same way. So I think it's going to be another fun summer read.
Yeah, I love a good romance in the summer, so if you enjoyed the conversation today, be sure to listen to some of our previous episodes, and if you do decide to head over to Instagram, leave us something like a American flag, or do like a crown, or if you're listening from Europe, you could do the British flag of England, whatever you want under the post for this episode. Let us know in the comments if there's anything you'd like for us to read and discuss in the future. We really appreciate you guys listening, and we'll speak to you all next time. Bye!
Bye! And happy July 4th.
Yes, that too.